everybody, it's Rachel here from Assist Trust and I'm here with my dad today and we are going to do some cooking together. Today we are going to make celery soup. Yeah, so we'll go through how to make it together. It's really simple and easy and it's a good way to start the new year on a health kick if that's what you want to do. So yeah, keep watching and we'll talk you through how to do it. Okay.
Hi. As I said before, we're going to make some celery soup. I use the BBC Food celery soup recipe here. Rachel will put the link on so you can look it up for yourself. But first of all, I'll go through the main ingredients. It's very, very simple. Celery, get a bunch of celery from the supermarket. We need some potatoes. We need some olive oil. We need some milk. We need some vegetable stock. I use this bouillon vegetable stock. And according to the recipe, we need some garlic cloves.
How many garlic cloves?
Well, 1 garlic clove.
Hi guys, so we're about to start cooking and we've got all our ingredients ready. The first thing we need to do before we do anything, and my dad and I have already done this, is to wash your hands. So make sure your hands are nice and clean. You're going to be handling food and you need to be as hygienic as possible. So nice clean hands to start off with. Okay, so we've got the first ingredient here, haven't we, Dad, which is the potato.
Yeah.
So peel his potato using a knife, just like that. Okay, like a small paring vegetable knife. And I'm going to use a potato peeler. So obviously there's 2 different ways you can peel the potatoes, using a knife or potato peeler. I think it's easier using a peeler, especially if you struggle with holding things in your hands or you find it a bit tricky. They're safer, you're less likely to hurt yourself. Dad uses a knife because he's always used a knife, haven't you? Yeah, so he just finds it easier to use a knife. I don't really like these peelers, to be honest. This is the one I've got. I think they're a bit tricky to use. You can get ones that are a bit easier. You've probably got them at home. So we're just going to peel potatoes first. That is the first thing that you're going to do, okay? So just peel the skins off the potatoes. Once you've peeled them, you can put your potato peelings into a compost bin if you have one. Or just put them into your normal bin if you haven't. Yep.
Right, the next stage is to cut the potatoes into pieces so that they'll cook nicely when we put them in the saucepan. So take a potato and we take a knife, being very careful that we don't cut ourselves, and just cut them into pieces about this size. And I'll show you, we've got the pieces here, you see. They don't have to be really tiddly, but they need to be not too big.
So we've chopped up all the potatoes, they're just here now. Dad's going to give them a wash in the sink, probably in a colander I'd imagine, and then we will weigh them to make sure we've got the right amount, which is, for the recipe, is 200 grams I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 200 grams.
200 grams. So we're just going to do that and then we'll move on to the next part, okay? Right, so the next ingredient we're going to put in is celery, and we need to prepare it. So celery can be quite dirty when you get it. It's generally got bits of mud and stuff on it, usually at the ends here. So you always need to wash it. What you also need to do is take the tops and the bottoms of each stick off, just to get rid of the kind of rough, more dirty part. So Dad's going to chop that up now. Show you how to do it. So obviously, as always, being really careful of fingers. You're going to be using a sharp knife, you don't want to cut yourself. So Dad, do you want to just show them?
Yeah, take the knife and cut that end off, and then this end off, and that can go into waste, and then cut it into pieces about this long.
So I'll show So about that long. So what you can do is use your finger as a way of measuring. So it's probably about half a finger long. But again, I mean, if it's not exact, it doesn't really matter. It's gonna cook down anyway. So just do it into chunks. Okay, so the next ingredient that we're going to put in is garlic. It's quite fiddly to prepare, so I just want to show you with a little tutorial, just a quick one up close. So I've got my sharp knife here, I've got my garlic clove here. Really careful with my fingers. The first thing I'm going to do is cut off one end, and then I'm going to cut off the other end, and then the next thing is just to peel off the skin like this. So it should come off quite easily because you've cut off either end of the clove, and you can just get all of that off probably just using your fingers, to be honest. Okay, so as soon as you've got all that off, you're ready to do the next stage. Now, most of you have probably used a garlic crusher before. We're not going to crush this garlic, it has to be sliced, so it's very, very fiddly. It's very easy to cut yourself. As you can see, I've already cut myself earlier in the week using a knife, so we all do it, but you just got to make sure you keep your fingers right out of the way. So you're just going to do really thin slices like this. I'm keeping my fingers bent back so that I'm not getting them anywhere near the blade, just really carefully. What I would say is, if you don't feel confident doing this, you can probably use a garlic crusher. It probably won't really make that much difference, but you want to get them into nice thin little slices like that to go in your soup, okay? Right, so we've measured out our vegetable stock into a measuring jug, and my dad is now going to add the hot water straight from the kettle. And the instructions of how much water you should add to your vegetable stock should be on the packet. You might have cubes, or you might have something like that, which is loose in the container, okay? And we are measuring out 500 millilitres of vegetable stock for this soup.
Right, now the next stage, we're going to actually cook the ingredients. You see here I've got a big saucepan, and when you put it on the stove, make sure that the handle is pointing away. Don't have the handle pointing out, so as you might knock into it. What I need to do now is put the oil in. So it's 2 tablespoonfuls of olive oil. And I rest my spoon on the spoon rest. And then I'll light the gas. You have to be really careful when you're lighting the gas or switching on an electric stove, because if you put your hand too close, you can really get a nasty burn. So we'll switch the gas on, turn it back a little bit, and we'll put the saucepan on to heat the oil. When the oil is hot enough, then I shall add the celery and the potato and the garlic. Now what we have to do now that the oil is nice and hot, we add in the ingredients. I'll add the potato first.
Okay, and you can tell that the oil is hot because it's sizzling. So what you can do, if you want to check how hot your oil is, you can put 1 piece of potato or 1 piece of onion, whatever it is you're adding into your ingredients, and see if it does sizzle. And if it sizzles, you know that your oil is hot enough. So Dad's just adding the celery as well. So we've got the celery in there, we've got the potato in there, the garlic that we chopped up earlier, all mixed in the oil. And then you want to season it as well. So you give it a nice mix, make sure it's coated, and then how much are you putting in of the, we've got some salt here, haven't we, Dad?
A pinch of salt.
A pinch of salt to season.
I like it salty.
So Dad's putting a tiny bit more, but yeah, probably just a pinch is enough. And then you're just going to leave that to start cooking through.
We have to put a splash of water.
And then you're just going to leave that to start cooking through.
We have to put a splash of water.
A splash of water as well, there we go. So Dad's filling up a cup with...
Just anything would do, just to make sure it doesn't burn on the bottom.
Okay. And how long do we have to leave this for now, Dad?
We have to leave it for about a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes, stirring so as we cook the potato and the celery. Make sure it doesn't burn on the bottom.
So keep your eye on it, probably be nearby, but cover it over with the lid, but don't worry too much about standing there the whole time. We've got that on a fairly low setting like that, and we will leave that to cook and we'll come back in 15 minutes and see how it's getting on.
Hello again. The soup's been cooking for about 10 minutes. I've been giving it the occasional stir, and I'll just give it one more swirl and you can see what it looks like. That smells really delicious.
You can really smell the garlic in there, can't you?
Yes, you can see we've got the potatoes and the celery here, and with the garlic in there, and just give it a stir around. Just another few more minutes, and then we add the stock, and we'll show you that being done in a moment. Right, the timer's just gone off. You can have a look and see now it's nicely cooked so far. The next stage is to add the stock that I have got in this jug here. So be very careful because it could be very hot. You don't want it splashing on you because that's very painful. Just pour the stock in carefully. What I always do is hold the jug over so as it doesn't run back down and go outside. So pour all the stock in. There we are. I'll put that out of the way. Give it a stir round, and then you turn up the heat until it starts to boil, and then switch the heat right back so it's just slightly bubbling, not boiling fast, but it's just keeping nice and hot and bubbling away.
Okay, so we've got it boiling away nicely now. So that's the first stage. You want to bring it to the boil with the stock. Then you need to turn the heat down so that it's just simmering, as Dad said earlier. So it's really easy to do that with gas because it's very quick to adjust the temperature. It might take a little bit longer with an electric hob, but as you can see, the bubbles are just getting a bit slower now, and you just want it to be gently bubbling away. And then you need that to be doing that for about 20 minutes.
So I'll set the timer for 20 minutes.
And then that will go off when we're ready to do the next stage. Okay guys, so it's been 20 minutes now and it's been simmering. So I'm going to turn it off, make sure the hob's turned off completely. This is going to be really hot, so when you remove it from the stove, which is something you need to do, I would suggest using some oven gloves or a tea towel, but something, because this has got metal on it, so we want to just make sure that we don't get burnt or hurt ourselves with the metal handle. So just lift it off very carefully. You're going to bring it over and put it onto something which is heat proof. So this is our nice wooden block here. Some counter surfaces won't be heat proof, so don't put it directly on your counter surface. We are going to be blending the soup, so that's the next step. So we've got a blender here that Dad's going to show you how to use in a minute, which plugs into the mains. As you can see, it's got very sharp blades in here. Don't put your fingers anywhere near that when it's turned on, because you don't want to lose the top of a finger, okay? And I wouldn't turn it on at the mains until you're actually using it. So I will hand back over to Dad and he will show you how to do the blending and the next step of the recipe.
Okay, I've got the blender here. I'm going to blend the soup. First of all, I switch it on at the socket here. just here.
Okay.
And as Rachel said, be careful you don't get your hands anywhere near the end of the device. The other thing you need to remember is that this has just come off the stove. It's very hot, so it's best to leave this just for a short while for it to cool down, because when you put the blender in, you may get some splashes coming out, and they could, they're quite painful. They're not going to kill you, but they'll be painful. So I'll put the blender in, make sure it goes below the surface, and make it go. And it minces up everything in there to make a nice, delicious liquid. Now if you look at the soup, you see it's really nice and creamy. I'll take this out, but remember, always have this switched off before you pull it out of the soup, because that's when you get splashes. And also hold on to the handle. So now I'm going to just tap that to get the last remnants of soup off, and then we return it to the hob. I can carry it over, being very careful. Switch it on. Get my spoon.
So there's another ingredient now that we're going to add, which we haven't mentioned before. So this is to just add a creaminess to the soup and just give it a bit more sort of thickness. So the last ingredient to add is milk. I'd probably use full fat milk. But if you are trying to be healthy, you can use semi-skimmed. How much milk is that in there, Dad?
100 millilitres.
100 millilitres of milk to add into your soup, and then you can see it just sort of makes it a bit more creamy.
We're now heating the soup through after we added the milk. I think it's ready to serve now. Just give it a couple more twists. Take the spoon out so as it doesn't catch in my arm. I'll get a dish, a ladle, and put the soup into the there we are, one bowl of delicious celery soup.
So we're just going to sit down now and eat our delicious soup that we've made. There we go. Nice and healthy. Nice way to start the new year. Hope you've enjoyed our video, and if you give it a go, hope you enjoy eating our soup. Do you want to give it a try, Dad? See what it's like? Let's just get you in shot.
It's delicious.
Is it nice?
It really is delicious. I'm the best cook in the world.
Yeah, so enjoy it, enjoy the video, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.